Welcome to the cranial nerve quiz. Now you may be using this as a quiz yourself tool, or you may be filling out your acronym for the first time. Either way, what's going to happen is I'm going to flash up the cranial nerve number and an associated picture, and then I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. After that, I'll start talking about what the cranial nerve name is and its associated function. Okay, let's get started. Cranial nerve number 1. Go ahead and pause now so that you can write down your answers and then restart the player. Cranial nerve number 1 is the olfactory nerve, and as the picture indicates, it is responsible for the sense of smell. Now remember, we can smell the skunk before we see the skunk, so that's how we remember that the olfactory nerve is cranial nerve number 1. You see, or you smell the skunk first. Cranial nerve number 2. Cranial nerve number 2 is the optic nerve, and it is responsible for our sense of vision. Cranial nerve number 3. Cranial nerve number 3 is responsible for moving our eyeball around in the socket in some directions, as well as our ability to blink. It's called the oculomotor nerve. Cranial nerve number 4. Cranial nerve number 4 is going to turn our eyes downward and medially. So what we might have heard of as going cross-eyed. Cranial nerve number 4 is our trochlear nerve. Cranial nerve number 5. Cranial nerve number 5 is our trigeminal nerve. It is responsible for the muscles of mastication, so chewing muscles. We are also going to see that it's going to give sensory input to the face and mouth, such as discriminative touch and pain. We also might see that there is some proprioception to the muscles of mastication coming out of the trigeminal nerve. And we will have already seen, or we'll be talking about, if you haven't gone to the lecture yet, the 3 branches of the trigeminal nerve and how they relate to trigeminal neuralgia. Here's cranial nerve number 6. Cranial nerve number 6 is abducens, and I remember abducens because it abducts the eye, which means it moves the eyeball laterally. Cranial nerve number 7. Cranial nerve number 7 is the facial nerve, and this is responsible for the muscles of facial expression. So every time you move your face, other than chewing or swallowing specifically, we are using the muscles of facial expression, or the facial nerve. It is also responsible for the secretion of tears and the production of saliva. Cranial nerve 8. Cranial nerve number 8 is the vestibular cochlear nerve, and it is responsible for not only your sense of auditory hearing, but also for the vestibular portion of your nervous system, which keeps your head literally upright. So it's our sense of internal sense of balance, or ability to keep our head. It also tells us if we're moving, if our body is moving forward or backward or side to side or rotating, all of that information. Cranial nerve number 9. Cranial nerve number 9 is our glossopharyngeal nerve. It is responsible for some sense of taste, but as the gentleman in the picture is demonstrating for us, it is also responsible for us being able to swallow water. So swallowing is a function of cranial nerve number 9. There also is some sense of carotid blood pressure, potentially, but swallowing and taste are going to be your 2 biggies. Number 10. Number 10 is our vagus nerve. And our vagus nerve is responsible for some of our autonomic function to our visceral organs. That is going to be very important because it's related to the parasympathetic fibers. So it's going to slow our heart rate and slow our respiratory rate in some sense as it regulates. It's also going to then, because it is parasympathetic, it's going to increase our digestive organ function. So what you really should know, it's parasympathetic, reduces heart rate, increases digestive function. Number 11. Number 11 is our spinal accessory nerve, and it is responsible for activity of upper trap and sternocleidomastoid. So when you're doing your acronym, the ooh, to touch and feel, very good, velvet, so we kind of separate that too. This is the accessory nerve. So even though we call it spinal accessory, we're going to label it the Last one, cranial nerve 12. Cranial nerve number 12 is the hypoglossal nerve. So this is the at the end. So the I can't even do that sometimes. Okay, so remember cranial nerve number 12, and like this child is suggesting, cranial nerve number 12, the hypoglossal nerve, is responsible for movement of your tongue. Okay, so go ahead and reuse this video as much as possible to quiz yourself because you're going to need to know these for your final.